So for this next art book review, we have The Last of Us, the decent one. So no more on that one. This was a £30 art book when this came out, which I think was about 2014, 2013. $40. It's currently gone up a little bit. It's now £45. Don't know the dollars equivalent. In America at least. I remember, so this will be another tier 3, detailed concept. Now, just going through it again for starting this video, I was like, yeah, it's a really good book, but I still remember the back of my mind when I first bought this. I was greatly disappointed. This has been annoying, by the way, guys. Spine. So it doesn't really fold properly until you get all the way to the far down, and then it folds all the way, which is a problem. But I was majorly disappointed in this art book because the overwhelming majority of the concept art in this book is available in the game. Now I can't reload the I'm not reloading the PS3 to double check this, but I remember a good chunk of this artwork just being something that you unlocked in the concept art menu in the game, and they had the descriptions as well. So I felt like I've just paid the 30 quid to just get the book version, all the concept art that I unlocked in the game in a book version, which I was a little bit annoyed at. I remember thinking, have you not given me anything new? So I remember being very niffed off when I bought this back then. But if you haven't, I mean, why would you do this one if you haven't played the game? If you can't be bothered reloading the PS3 up and you really want to go through the artwork again, then I think this would be definitely worth getting. But with its price going up, I'm not sure how good value for me that is. But let's just go through the book as it is. You do get a breakdown of how Joe early knocked there, which definitely knocks a bit different, that's for certain. He knocks a bit like I was gonna say, is it Redus, but no, it doesn't actually. A bit of designs of how the characters look, all the different outfit choices called schemes. Let's figure out a choice. Ellie here. The one thing I'll point out, if you are a bit squeamish, this book definitely isn't for you, because when we get to the infected later on, they're not the most settling of pictures. And also, again, you shouldn't read this if you haven't played the game. It does spoil many aspects of the game, story-wise. But it's nice to see like this. We see all different variations of how Ellie first again knocked and how they finally came to a decision. We don't get much of a written description about why they picked one thing over the other, but we do get a little bit of description of characters, bit of Sarah, and then these bits are just various concept pictures of areas. Get a little brief description, some more characters, test. Like, I'll say it's 2013, it's 10 years now. But if you haven't read, this came out similar time as the game. If you bought this and read this first, you would be spoiled on Tessa's demise. A little bit of sketch work. It's mostly the fully painted stage that we're getting the different versions of. Screenshot there. I do cram the pictures in though on the pages, but obviously some of these would be nice to see as full pages rather than just little square snippets. Unfortunately, but that does happen with some of these books. So I'll skip a little bit ahead here. Again, the breakdown of some bandits. Okay, so again, spoils his demise if you haven't played the game. Is it weird that I guess there's no need for an art book not to spoil, but it seems quite commonplace for art books not to spoil the game, so it's quite unusual. But then this, like I said, this does seem like they just took the concept art from the game disc and just shoved them in the book, which would explain some of the positioning, I think, of some of these. But again, if you're not willing to order the game, you do get a nice bit of detail. You do get to see a lot of artwork of the various characters, or some landscape shots there. Brilliant picture. We do get a little bits of descriptions here and there. But like I said, the effects are pretty grotesque. They've definitely looked worse. Some of the early decisions on these definitely looked far worse than they did before. There was one interesting one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, how they originally had basically the parasite would become living organism, which would capture people, kind of eat them, and then spit them out as infected fins. But scrapped it because I wanted to make it more realistic rather than sci-fi, I guess. Aliens. If I skip some of these just so YouTube doesn't get angry at me. But yeah, the infected are quite grotesque. I see a little bit of some of the signage blown up a little bit, some of the posters. And there was one which I'm surprised I don't have here, which I remember Ellie comments on it about the really skinny model, and she asks about the starvation aspect. Weapons, but very small images of them, which to me just always seems a bit of a shame. Main game's so small because you can't really do much with small artwork like that. Nice bit of sketching that way for scene. Some promotional stuff. Famous picture there. A little bit of artwork for the comic, which the comic actually plays out a bit differently to the actual DLC. They changed a bit of the ending for the actual game version for certain reasons. So it's a bit weird, this one, because overall, as an art book, the tier 3 art book, is actually really good. It was just, it's hard to get over the fact of that a lot of this stuff you can get freely if you play the game, which you most likely will have to have the art if you're going to get an art book of said game. So it just feels like an unnecessary purchase for me. So if you find it cheap, or if you're just that die hard of at least the first Last of Us game, then this, I guess, would be a purchase. For me, if I rewound time, I probably wouldn't have bought it if I knew that it was just going to feature mostly concept art from the actual game disc without much detail about decisions. Especially after that, then I didn't have as much money. That was fresh out of uni. But anyway, the review is a good art book. Recommend it if you can find it at a good price, or you're that I have a fan, I guess. So until next time, goodbye.